21 minutes past the hour now, back live at Madison Square Garden, the world's most famous arena, and today probably one of the most secure places on planet Earth. If it's not, I don't know what's more secure, Rick. I mean, you can't get in here without going past 30 guys with a wand.
Yeah, my ID was checked 3 times this morning, and then 2 metal detectors to get in the building.
You're not wearing your ID.
It's right over there on a chair.
Yeah, okay. So, Mike, they're saying. So, last night, parties. We went to parties in Boston, right? And the parties where, you know, they check your ID and you go in. Last night here, sometimes dozens, sometimes hundreds of people screaming nasty things like Fox News sucks and go home Bush and stuff like that.
Yeah, apparently the protesters are as aware of where the parties are as the party goers. They're out to try and disrupt things. Apparently, last night some delegates went to a Broadway show and were heckled by protesters outside the show.
It really happened everywhere you went, and you had to figure that it was very well organized, because I didn't know where all these events were last night, and we couldn't get a printout of where all of them were, and yet all you had to do was look for protesters, and you could figure out where the parties were.
Well, the other interesting thing, I think, is that there is such a disparity between the figures given out by the organizers of yesterday's protest march, who were saying there were 500,000 people in the streets, and city officials who are saying it was closer to 125,000, a wide range.
It was a lot of people, whatever it was.
A lot of people. Some are saying as many as 20 city blocks filled, taking hours for these people to get past Madison Square Garden, and for the most part, an orderly protest.
It was orderly, but if you're coming... We're used to New York, you know. We're used to bright lights, big city, people all over bumping into you all the time. Forget about it. But people from, you know, Nebraska and Mississippi aren't used to that. I met a woman and her daughter, a 20-year-old daughter, who were here and in the middle of those protests yesterday while trying to do some shopping, and they said they were scared for their lives, which was ridiculous. They shouldn't have been.
Well, people
but
may
sensory
be
overload.
Well, yes, people could be intimidated by the city itself, and then if you throw in the mix tens of thousands of people in the street who are blocking traffic and you know, making a big ruckus, that could throw some people. But, you know, listen, that's what democracy is all about. The people are expressing their right to freedom of speech outside. And, exactly. And inside, the convention goes for. By the way, Shep, you know, I got a blog on the web now. And you can log
Rick's doing his own commercial now, ladies and gentlemen.
Check out some photos that we posted there. I'm going to take one of you and put that on there.
That'll be great.
Yeah.
Rick will also be on your local Fox station every morning. Whatever your local Fox morning news is, you know, the goofy stuff in the morning, Rick will be doing live reports for them.
Did 31 live shots this morning?
Well, that's impressive.
Thank you.
Great to see you. Thank you. I want to talk a little bit about the war in Iraq and how that's going to be used here. You know, President Bush gave an interview to Matt Lauer over on NBC this morning and said something to the effect of, "I'm not sure how you declare a win in the war on terror." Michael O'Hanlon's with us now from the Brookings Institution, friend of the program. Michael, good to see you.
Thank you, Shep.
Did he go a little too far? In your estimation, did he say the wrong thing? Was that the right message or the wrong message to those who would have us dead?
Well, politically, you can second-guess it, I suppose. But actually, I'd like to hear a lot more from both the President and Senator Kerry about this question. You know, we all know Secretary Rumsfeld last fall wrote that famous memo in which he said, how do we know if we're winning in the long term? I don't think we have a coherent strategy. How do we know we're arresting and killing terrorists more quickly than they're being created and recruited to replace the ranks of those who are taken out? I don't think either candidate's done a very good job of answering that question. We all know we have to destroy the al-Qaeda that exists today. And there's a debate about how best to do that, but there's a lot of agreement on that goal. But how do you prevent the next generation from arising? And I haven't heard nearly as much conversation, so I'm glad the President will at least say it's an open issue.
You know what you hear along those lines, Michael? You hear blame. You hear the Democrats saying that the President and the war on Iraq are creating new terrorists, and from the President you hear we're stopping future terrorism. Is there an answer to that riddle?
I don't know. It's the unfortunate thing about the war in Iraq. I wish it had been discussed on the merits. I supported the confrontation with Saddam, but not because of the supposed links to al-Qaeda. I think confronting Saddam had its own merits in terms of Persian Gulf stability, and that was the greater objective there. I think both sides have, in a way, misused the importance of Iraq for the broader global war on terror.
Tonight, the Republicans will be using on stage here some of the relatives and family members of the victims of 9/11. It's become clear that they're going to use that as one of their rally points throughout this. Wise or unwise?
Inevitable, I suppose. And I just, obviously President Bush is making a fair amount out of the way he responded on that day and in the subsequent weeks to the nation's tragedy. Senator Kerry has criticized the president at various times for his reactions. I just think 9/11 is so much a part of this last 4 years that I wish we could leave that day alone, but I'm not sure we can even leave that particular day alone. I'd rather have the debate about how you respond, not about how we acted on that day or what emotions were conjured up on that day. But I'm not sure how you avoid it.
We get a lot more blame game than we do debate over such a thing. Would you believe that the debates will end up focusing on that, the future, and how we're going to carry this thing out?
I hope so. And again, I'm a Kerry supporter in terms of which preference I have, but I give the president a lot of credit for the fact that he has said, I want to have the debate be about the future. I think that's the right message. And if he can come up with a better plan, maybe I'll still support him. But I think right now neither candidate is talking enough about this long-term struggle in the war on terror. It's not all about Iraq. The Taliban's out of Afghanistan. We still have some cleanup to do there, but it's really not so much about Afghanistan. It's about the much broader problem. How do we stop Muslims from hating us, and how do we help them reform their own political systems which generate so much hate and so many terrorists? That's the big long-term challenge, and we're not hearing much about it in this presidential race.
Michael O'Hanlon from the Brookings Institution. Michael, thank you. Always good to talk to you. Much more to come from Studio B at the RNC. Take a live look over at the steps over here from RF7. They are still painting this place. Can you see that yet, Alan? Unbelievable. The work is already underway, or still underway, and I don't know, the vice president's already been in the building. They don't even have the place painted. And look right over here. That's Ed Koch, former mayor of the city of New York. We're going to try to talk to him in just a minute. But even more importantly than Ed Koch or the painting, it's time for Jane Skinner in the Ville. Studio B takes you to Skinnerville. Coming up next, I'm Shepard Smith in New York. It's good to have you with us.